Well, hello everyone, it's Europa. Welcome to another wig. This week we're diving deeper than we've ever gone before into my wig making process so all of you can learn exactly what I did to make this Sailor Moon Cybergoth wig. It's a lace front, it's over 5 feet long, and as always, it's entirely made of yarn. We've got new products to try, new techniques to show, and a whole lot more, so if you want to see how I turn this into this, then keep watching. Well, you can see that right now I'm measuring out my wefts, and the struggle is real with this yarn. There were a whole lot of starts and stops to detangle. This is definitely my most tedious step, but I'm at least glad that it's the first step so I can get it out of the way. We used 7 rolls of neon green yarn, 2 rolls of neon yellow, and 1 roll of my favorite confetti yarn to make this hair. After measuring it all out, I tied off just one side and cut the other. Untying it carefully after that, I set aside a third of the yarn and retied the rest close to either end. I cut down the middle, and this yarn becomes our wefts. So here I'm separating the yarn into very small sections so nothing gets tangled as I make my wefts. This step makes the weft process much easier, and I'm actually using a keyboard stand to hang the hair. I love finding creative solutions to problems. It's actually part of why I started making yarn wigs in the first place. Alright, time to make some wefts. So we start, of course, with some packing tape. I'm going to put it down onto the table, and then I'm going to secure that with a little more tape on either end. I use packing tape because it's easy to stick the hair on and then pull it back off. You can see my hot glue gun is resting on some parchment paper, which is going to protect the table. And I'm just going to do a few sections here, lay down the glue, let the parchment do its thing, let the ice pack cool down the glue, and then lay some more hair down. I used to do the whole length of the tape with the yarn first, but I noticed that my glue gun was actually getting cold from having to do so much work at the end all at once. So I did the rest of the wefts, and now you can see I'm doing something different. So I'm taking the reserved hair, probably half of it, and I'm turning this into discrete wefts. So these are double length, and I'm just sorting through the hair to make sure I have an even single layer, laying down some glue, and then locking it into place. And this stuff is going to go right around the part right before we start ventilating. So I'm just going through all of my wefts. I made 8 wefts with glue, 5 discrete wefts, and this is what you can see, all of the work that I did before we get to straightening. So this is my favorite part. You can see that there's inconsistencies in how the hair looks right now, and the straightener is going to take care of those. I usually crank it up to 410. This was a really cheap straightener I got from the drugstore, and I just go through here, making sure that everything is now nice and consistent. I promise you, this is a step you do not want to miss. It seems optional, but really this makes the wigs look beautiful. I actually had access to a steamer, and I made the most of that and did a lot of this with the steamer. I couldn't get the ends though, so I used the flat iron for that, and you can just see how beautiful the hair looks at this point. So here I'm tacking some more parchment down onto my wig head, putting the cap on. Always make sure the tag is not facing out, because sometimes they pack them that way. And I'm just trimming these wefts now before I separate them into smaller chunks that I can have a lot of control over as I start to place them onto the cap. So I'm just really considering how the hair is going to fall. So we're doing a middle part today, which means the hair is going to go basically past the ears. And we want to make sure that it's direction really well. And I feel like I nailed it this time with how I placed them, so just follow exactly what I'm doing if you're trying to go for a wig like this. I'm just going in section by section, and I'm really trying to customize it. I'm not afraid to go onto the lace here when I need to, and I'm not afraid to cut wefts too. As you can see, that's what I do here. Just trim this one to shape. This little part by the ear I'll address in a little bit. But I did the back also so that I could really have a good sense of how I needed to gradiate the angle of the hair from the front to the back. And it helped me a lot. It made it so it was just a no-brainer. So I don't want the part of the weft that's locked in with glue to go past the edge of the cap. It's really uncomfortable and it affects the fit of the wig. And to account for that, I'm laying glue down at the edge of the cap and attaching my wefts just past where the glue locks the hair down. I just make sure that there are no gaps in the hairs while I'm securing the wefts, and once I'm happy with how it looks, I lock down the rest of the weft. Something I did differently for this wig, which worked really well, was to vary the placement of my wefts instead of going in horizontal rows. I talk about this later in the video, but just adding some variation means that when the hair lifts or it moves, you don't see into the wig where the wefts are flat against the head. You don't get these weird shelves going on. For me, in filming, I can always edit around those less flattering moments, but I make these wigs for real people, real performers, and I want to make sure no matter what angle, they're getting the fantasy that they paid for. So we've moved on to the crown, and I'm just using that seam at the top of the wig cap as a guide. The crown of the head happens to land right behind this seam. That's part of why I really like these caps. They also come in a range of skin tones, which means I'm able to make the lace perfectly fit to my clients. I want to leave an inch of space for the discreet wefts and ventilated hair at the front, and I move closer together at the crown. So I'm just finishing off the little ear bits here with some extra wefts, and I cut them down right to size. Okay, so I'm just lifting it to see how it looks. I'm pretty happy with that. This is great. So here I'm showing you the discreet wefts that we made earlier. And if you're wondering, yes, this is a real tattoo. One of my favorite artists is Grimes, and I had a drawing of her on my finger for weeks. I just kept on redrawing it, so I just decided to make it permanent. I'm leaving a centimeter of space between the discreet wefts at the part. As I reach the end of the lace towards the crown, I gradually close that gap. I'm laying glue inside the discreet wefts to prevent the hair from opening up. Once again, making sure no matter what a client does, the wig won't let them down. And finally, I'm rounding out the front to make a nice transition into our ventilated hair. So I have to apologize because I found out that I've been saying crochet hook when I should be saying latch hook. A subscriber let me know the difference, so thank you to Desiree. Latch hooks close like you see here, and crochet hooks don't. I actually picked up some new latch hooks to try. I'm kind of considering stocking supplies for you guys in my shop, so I wanted to test these out. I've used wooden handle hooks before, and I really love how they feel, but they were never secure, and the handle would pop off from the actual hook, which was really frustrating. But I ordered this set, and I've tried them all, and they perform beautifully. They might even have my official Europa seal of approval. So let me know if you're interested in learning about my favorite supplies in a video, or if I should start stocking tools in my shop. Let me know in a comment below. When latch hooking the hair, I insert the hook in and out a few millimeters away. When inserting the latch hook, I always approach the hairline at an angle going away from the middle, sort of in a radius, like a sun. This will give the look of tension on the hair when it's pulled back, while still concealing that little stitch underneath between each set of hairs. I also try to avoid making a straight line with the hairline at all costs. Hairlines naturally have dips and spaces, so we want to mimic that. And honestly, exaggeration is welcome when dealing with yarn. It reads better with this bulkier texture. And I have to say, while you're just watching the rest of the lacing process, we have made it to 3,000 subscribers on Instagram and 25,000 on TikTok. So thank you all so much. I can't believe that you guys really like what I'm doing. There's such high caliber drag art out in this world, we know, with things like Drag Race and all the other amazing TV shows. So the fact that you guys are watching what I'm doing, it just means the world to me, so thank you. So Saphira, who is my client, requested pigtails that almost look like Sailor Moon buns. So first I cut fishnets and filled them with scraps to form the base shape of the buns. I prefer to use green fishnets, but I had what I had, and as long as we cover them, we'll be just fine. I can't say that I'm an expert sewer by any means. Those of you at home who have made these can probably do it better than me. But I just do my best and try not to sew the wig to my wig block. I add nail glue to my knots for extra security before applying the wefts. And I noticed I didn't have the volume I needed, so I did an emergency BBL. I quickly bulked up the buns with some more scraps and another bit of fishnet. When adding wefts to a bump, I always avoid permanently gluing the bun to the head. Make sure that you don't do that. That way, the wig can be restyled at any point. I think this really adds some extra use out of these wigs for a customer. And for myself when I do these for my own use. I had to correct the direction of the wefts because I wasn't happy with the fall of the hair, but I made it work in the end. Really, so much of what I've learned has been from making mistakes. You know, my rule is work it out in the moment and make a plan for next time. So we're just going through and finger combing all of the hair before we give it a cut. So we're just gonna cut the hair very quickly. I always try to angle my scissors up to blend it nicely. And now let's do the final reveal. Phaser set to slay. She is atomic. If I was in a first-person shooter, I would miss every time, but my looks would kill. The pigtails are styled into buns, and the bangs have been snatched right off Ariana's head. I am so happy with how everything turned out, and the parting is beautiful. I am puckering. It is so green. And if you're living for this, please like this video and leave a comment. If you want to know more about my wigs, head to my website or hit me in the DMs. Thank you to my patrons for supporting me, and I'll see you next time.